What's up, everybody? Today we're going to take a look at the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 menu settings and features. So to get started, we'll just power on the camera by rotating the screen clockwise. Right away, you'll notice on the main screen a few different icons. Starting in the top left corner, you're going to see your SD card. Depending on what settings you're in, it's going to tell you how much space you have remaining on your card. So for example, right now I'm in video mode. I'm filming at 1080, 24 frames per second, and it's telling me that I could record for approximately 14 hours and 5 minutes. So again, that'll fluctuate depending on if you're doing photos, videos, if you're in 1080, if you're in 4K, and et cetera, et cetera. In the top right corner, you've got your battery life. Just underneath that, you'll have a zoom function. Underneath that, in the bottom right corner, you're going to have your gimbal rotate mode. So if you want to flip the camera around to take selfies for vlogging videos, then that's what you'll click. Bottom middle, it's giving you information on the setting that you currently have it on. So right now, because it's in video mode and I'm shooting 1080 24 frames, that's what it's telling me. In the bottom left here is where we can change our modes. So if I wanted to go to photo, for example, or low light or time lapse, then that would change. And then the title here in the bottom middle would also adjust accordingly to whatever setting you're in. In the left center here, we have what they're calling our smart gimbal modes. So if you are to click on there, you're going to see that it gives you 3 different options. The first option being face auto detect mode. So that's just the camera's just going to automatically follow the face that's closest to the center of the camera. In the middle, we have dynamic framing mode. Okay, and this is also going to keep something in a select position, but you get to choose the position. So for example, if we click start and we look at the next screen here, we can use our joystick, and there's 9 different squares to choose from, and you can move with the joystick to choose where you want your subject to stay in the frame. So for example, if I click in the top right corner here, what that does is it's going to say that I want my subject to stay in that top right corner of the frame, even if I'm moving the camera around. So if I'm walking and I'm vlogging, it's going to keep my face in that corner and leave the rest of the frame open. And going back into the menu there, you'll see that there's one other option in the bottom left corner. This is called spin shot, and it's just going to allow you to either rotate the camera 90 degrees or 180 degrees if you want to try and make some creative shots. So in order to exit a mode that I've accessed, I'm just going to click the exit button to stop using it. On the main screen, if you wanted to focus on a specific subject in the background, you can just double click in that area of the frame, and the camera will actually rotate to focus on that item. So for example, you have a dog in that section and you double click on the dog's face. The camera's going to rotate, keep focus on the dog's face, but it's going to keep it in the center of the screen. Just like most other cameras, you're going to have other features that are accessible if you're sliding on the screen up, down, left, or right. So we'll take a look at those. First of all, sliding down is going to bring open the largest menu with quite a few different features. The first thing we're going to see here is our custom menu mode. This is where you can save up to 5 custom settings. So if you don't want to have to change things every time you come in and you know what you like to work with, then you can set those up and quickly access them. Second, over in the menu, we have what's called screen rotate and capture. So if we look in here, what that's going to do is if you turned on screen rotate and capture, as soon as you power on the camera, it's going to start recording. Underneath there, you can choose what setting you want the camera to be in when you turn the camera on. So right now I have it set to the last setting, so whatever the last setting is that I was using, it's going to remain in there when I power on the camera the next time. But if you wanted it to always start in video or always start in low light mode or hyperlapse, for example, then you can select those. Going back, we have brightness. This is just the brightness for the screen here. So if you're out in a really sunny day, maybe you want it up at 100%. If you're shooting indoors or you want to conserve more batteries, you can drop the brightness down a little bit. Next over we have our selfie mode. So if you click that, selfie mode is just going to be on all the time. It's going to enable the camera to recognize and follow your face and make sure that you're always captured in the screen. I'm going to turn that off for now. In the bottom left here we have our settings. First of all, the wireless microphone, which I don't have. If you click on there, it gives you options to connect two of the wireless microphones. I wasn't able to get the creator bundle because it wasn't available for sale. It still isn't even available in Canada, to be honest. So, but luckily I have a really good Tascam lavalier mic that's probably even better quality. But there are good features with these microphones if you do have them. They record directly to the camera wirelessly, so it's definitely useful. Going back, we have our gimbal startup direction. So you're going to be able to choose the direction. Pretty straightforward. Forwards, backwards, or the last setting that you had it on. Rotate screen to power off. Again, pretty self-explanatory. If you rotate the screen and you're not recording, it's going to power off. So you can choose the time. You want it to be immediate, 2 seconds, or if you don't want it to happen. Selfie flip. This is basically, so if you're taking like a self-portrait, for example, it's going to automatically mirror the resulting image. So it'll flip it around when you're looking at the final file. OTG connection, not something I can show you guys because I use an iPhone, and that is strictly for Android devices. It's for transferring photos and videos and file management stuff. So if you have an Android, you might want to dig a little bit deeper into the OTG connection settings. Wireless connections, you have your wireless info, your frequency if you want 5.8 or 2.4 gigahertz, and if you want to reset your connection. Scrolling down, we have wearable mode. That basically just rotates and locks the gimbal in the tilt locked mode, which I'll show you guys a little bit after. Gimbal calibration. Pretty straightforward. If your camera is not doing what you think it should be doing, the gimbal isn't working correctly, you can set it down on a flat surface, click confirm. It's going to go through a calibration, rotate itself around a bunch of times, and sort itself out. I'm not going to do that right now. Joystick speed. You got two options in here because your joystick can switch between controlling the zoom or the gimbal rotation. So I believe there's 7 settings in here for speed, 7 being the fastest, 1 being the slowest. Okay. And then video compression. You can choose between HEVC or H.264. I'm not a super techie video guy, but from my understanding, the HEVC offers higher compression, which will give you smaller file sizes, but same sort of quality. So I've left it on there. You might know more about that than I do, so feel free to make your choices. Sounds, this is just how loud the sounds coming out of the camera are going to be, the beeping every time you're touching something. So high, medium, low. I've just got mine set to low for now, or you can turn it right off if you want to. Next we have our grid. So if you want to turn the grid on, that's going to give you, I'll just show you here, a grid on the screen. So if you want to really control, like if you're making sure that you're using the rule of thirds in your photography or video, it just gives you a grid so that you can keep things positioned accordingly. Back down to where we left off. Underneath the grid, you'll see anti-flicker. It's grayed out at the moment because I have my exposure settings in manual. But if it's not in manual, you're allowed to adjust that. I think you can choose between 50 and 60 hertz. And basically that's if you're shooting indoors with fluorescent lighting versus like out in the sunlight. You may need to use anti-flicker. Underneath that, we have time code. Basically, that's if you want to set the time code for the camera or sync it to your system time. Next, we have our file naming management, so you can name folders or files if you want to be all nice and organized. And then screen off while recording. If you want to choose to turn the screen off after 3 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or never. So basically, if you're recording for that amount of time, it's just going to let the rear screen go black, and you'll continue shooting. You just won't be able to see what you're doing on the screen. So personally, I want my screen on so I can see what I'm doing. And then we have our auto power off. So if you're not using the device for a certain amount of time, it'll power off for you. So 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Underneath that we have our LED light. The LED light is this little green light right here. You can choose to either turn it off or on. I don't think LEDs take a lot of battery power, so I've just left it on. Continue last live stream. If you're doing a live stream, that'll let you continue doing it in the last settings that you were using. Language, pretty self-explanatory. Format, this is going to be for your SD card. If you just put a new SD card in that hasn't been used in the camera, you're going to want to format it. You'll just slide this all the way to the right, but just be aware that that will delete all the files on your card. Factory reset, if you wanted to reset the camera to its factory default settings. These cameras do require a firmware update when you buy them, so if you reset it, you would have to again do the update through the DJI Mimo app. You would probably only really want to do that factory reset if you're having issues with an update, for example. Device info, that's just going to show your name, serial number, firmware, stuff like that. So I'm not going to open it up, but that's all it is. And compliance info, bunch of legal stuff. Okay. Nothing that you're going to need to worry about. Next in the settings here, we can choose our orientation for the camera. So we have landscape, we have portrait mode, or we can choose to let it auto rotate, and that's going to rotate depending on how we flip the screen. Beside there, we have our rotational speed. So we have slow, medium, and fast, basically. So slow, obviously, if you're wanting to do a nice controlled motion, get the smoothest shot possible. Default is your medium, kind of all around. And fast, if you're filming maybe like a fast moving action shot, then you'll want the gimbal to move a little bit faster. I'm going to leave mine on default for the moment. Here we have our gimbal modes. So left to right, we've got follow mode. In follow mode, the pan and the tilt axis will follow the handle, while the roll axis will remain level. This is going to be best used if you're doing like vlogs and selfie videos and stuff like that. In the center here we have tilt locked. In tilt locked, only the pan axis will follow and the tilt axis is going to be locked, and the roll axis will stay perfectly level. So this is mostly used when you're switching between like a high and low camera position, but you want to keep everything else steady. Oh, what's going on here? FPV, first person view. Basically what that's going to do is the camera is just going to rotate freely. It's going to follow the handle movement, and you're going to use that when the camera position is just constantly moving. That's it for this menu. So what we'll do is we'll slide in from the left here, and that's going to show you your memory card. So if you had files on the memory card, it's going to show you the memory card files. Sliding in from the right side, depending on if you're in photography mode or video mode, it's going to give you a few different options. First of all, I'll show you if you're not in pro mode, it's going to have very basic settings. Glamour effect, which is something that you need to use in the DJI Mimo app, and image adjustment. You can choose, again, custom settings or not. But if you go into pro mode, you're going to have a few more options to control your video and exposure. So first of all, exposure. Right now it's on manual, so that allows me to choose my shutter speed and my ISO. Okay, I have it set up dark right now just so you can see everything really clearly on the screen. White balance, I've got it in auto white balance, but if you want, you can choose the Kelvin temperature to your likings. Glamour effect, as I mentioned, that's going to be for use with the DJI Mimo app. Color, normal, HLG, or D-Log. So if you want to have, if you want to let the camera choose its color profile, or if you want a more flat color profile because you're into color grading and post-processing, then you can adjust the color profile there. Focus mode. You've got, I think, 3 options in here. So single focus, continuous, and product showcase. So single focus, obviously, if you're shooting a stationary object and you want that to be the focus point, you're going to put on single. If you're doing a walk and talk, you're probably going to want it in continuous so that it's going to continuously try to focus on the main object in the screen. And then lastly, you have product mode, product showcase mode. And that's going to allow so for example, if you're doing a vlog and you're looking at yourself, but then you want to showcase a product, you put it in front of you and it's going to make sure that that product comes into focus. Those settings are going to change again depending on if you're in video mode or photo mode. So we'll just take a look here, for example. Sliding over, same idea. Exposure, if you want JPEG or JPEG and RAW, anybody that edits your photos, you're going to want to have JPEG and RAW. For some reason, it doesn't let you do just RAW, kind of annoying. So you always end up with 2 files, but and then again, your focus mode, same idea, white balance, same idea. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. Okay, and lastly, we're just going to look at sliding up from the bottom. So again, depending on which setting you are in, if you're in camera or video, like a photo or video, these are going to be different. So I'm in photo mode right now, so it lets me choose my aspect ratio and my countdown if I want to set a timer. If we went to video mode, it's going to let you choose your resolution and your frame rates. You can choose 1080, 2.7K, or 4K, and frame rates from 24 frames to 60 frames. And that's the same throughout each resolution. Now, if you wanted to shoot a higher frame rate for like slow motion, for example, then you actually have to go back into the settings here and slide over to slow motion. And we'll go back down here and slide up, and that's going to give you your options for a higher frame rate. So you can see in 1080 we have an option for 120 frames or 240. As you go up in resolution, the frame rates obviously are a little bit less. 4K maxes out at 120, and 2.7 only has 120. Okay. Other modes that we have in here, we have time lapse. And if we go into time lapse, there's actually a few different options here. So first of all, we have hyperlapse. So you can use that to record time-lapse videos when the camera's in motion. So for example, if you're hand holding it or driving around with the camera, then you'll have it in hyperlapse. Next over here we have time-lapse. Time-lapse is going to be best used if the camera is on a tripod and staying still. There's 3 presets already here for like common things that you might want to capture a time lapse of, obviously. So like big crowds, moving crowds, clouds moving through the sky, or sunsets. So, and then there's motion lapse. Motion lapse basically lets you do a time lapse video, but from different angles. So you can start off doing a left to right or right to left, or you can choose some custom motions. And then we have obviously some low light shooting and panorama mode as well. So I'm not going to go deep into those. They're pretty self-explanatory. You can choose if you want to do 180 degree image, which takes 4 horizontal pictures from left to right, and then it like combines them into a single image. Or if you do the 3x3 option, it's actually going to take 9 photos from different directions and create a panoramic photo out of those. In low light, basically it's just going to let the camera automatically adjust the exposure so that it can improve your image quality in low light environments. So if you didn't want to have to figure. Okay, and then I will just show you just over here on the right of the screen here. I think I mentioned it earlier, but you have an option to control your gimbal or the zoom. So right now the joystick is controlling the gimbal, looking up and down. And if I clicked it, it's going to be controlling my zoom, my camera zoom. So you can choose either one of those. Lastly, a notable mention is the joystick itself. If you have been moving around the gimbal and you want to just recenter it, you're just going to double click and it's going to recenter the gimbal. If you wanted to do a really quick reversal of the camera, you can just click it 3 times and it'll reverse the camera. And that's all I got for you guys. That's pretty much all the menu settings here on the new Pocket 3. If you found it helpful, appreciate if you hit that like button. Obviously, you know that it helps the algorithms to let channels grow. And being a new channel, I could use all the help I can get. If you hated it, feel free to let me know in the comments. Hit that dislike button 2 times and enjoy your day.